In 1999, we got The Matrix, which would end up winning the Academy Award that year.
John Gator, Yannick Searles, Steve Quartley, and John Damm for The Matrix.
It was mimicked all over the place and become a huge popular culture icon for the next installments. Does it hold up after the fact, after the hype? We're going to talk about that.
Welcome back to AsArt with Nick, John, and Taylor. Today we're going to go deep down the rabbit hole with some fun theories, movie facts, and other good stuff. So hit subscribe if you haven't yet so you can get updated to all of our awesome content. And right off the bat, I just have to say that there's a lot of fun theories on the internet about this movie. And there's theories like Morpheus is actually the villain and he's keeping them in the Matrix 2 kind of thing. And there's like so many good theories out there, which we're going to cover probably later on, but I just wanted to like tease you guys right away with there's a lot of good fun theories out there. But the first thing I want to cover is some glitches I saw in the movie. I know it's the Matrix and there's glitches.
The Matrix?
Yes, I saw a couple glitches. I don't know if you guys saw them too, but the one I noticed was at the beginning of the movie in the cubicle scene.
Ooh, oh yeah, I think I know what you're gonna say here.
When Morpheus calls him,
and
he's like, "You have to listen to everything I say," you know what I mean, or whatever. And he's like, "Go over to the other cubicle," and he goes over to the other cubicle.
You can't hide.
He's still tapped into the Matrix technically, so any agent, right? They're called agents, can like warp to his location and transform into him. It's like they're so dumb that they can't find him yet. It's like
this pretty good point. I never thought about that because he was still in the Matrix at the time. That's very interesting.
And it's like they make this big old deal like they can't find this guy, and it's just like, wait a minute, what glitch?
I've never thought about that before. Never ever.
Are you okay, John? I know this is like your favorite movie right after.
I don't think it ruins it for him.
Star Wars, Ewoks.
Yes.
Caravan of Courage, but say that every episode.
Yeah,
you got it in early.
But anyways, I just had to mention something fun, and
yeah, that's kind of fun.
It's kind of fun. It sounds kind of sad, John. I'm sorry. Did I ruin the whole Matrix for you?
Nah, it's a movie, man.
I know kung fu. Show me.
Okay, so we know there's a new trailer out. Are you guys excited about the new Matrix? You guys over the Matrix? Do you guys even care?
Go ahead. You can hop in first, Taylor.
I'm not a huge fan of like third and fourth installments of movies. In very rare cases am I like super excited for it. I'm like the first one is the best one type of person. So
hold on, wait. The first one's the best. So the first Harry Potter movie is the best Harry Potter movie for you?
No, Nick just found a glitch in the Matrix.
I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, because there's 7 of them.
Okay, well, not in that case.
I'm just messing. I'm just having fun.
But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of like remakes of old movies.
What is it called? It's Matrix Reloaded. And then it's
that was the second one. Oh, Reloaded and Revolutions.
Yeah, isn't the third one kind of known for being
bad?
Really bad?
Yeah, well, I'm not a fan of it.
Okay.
Are you a fan of it, John? The third one?
It's my least favorite out of the 3 for sure. I really didn't like it, but then when I watched it maybe a couple years ago, I liked it a lot more. A lot of it, I think, comes down to what your expectations are going in, especially with the Matrix movies. After that first one was so good, the second and third one, I think it was really hard for that to go to that. And you asked, am I excited for the next one? And I would say, after seeing the trailer, I kind of am, because they're going in much different direction in it. And it probably doesn't have the same budget that the second and third ones did. And if you guys have seen any of the behind the scenes for The Matrix, they were saying, yeah, like the first movie, they could do whatever they wanted because there was no studio involvement for the most part. But they said they had hardly any funding. So just to get a coffee maker was a commitment. I think this was Kate Moss was saying that was a commitment they did not want to make. Whereas the second and third one, after the huge runaway success of the first one, they had huge gyms and a huge warehouse decked out with stuff. But there was a lot more, overseeing of things. And the biggest thing is sometimes when you don't have a huge budget, you come up with the best ideas, and the focus does go back to the story. And so if we're going back to a focus on maybe a little bit more micro instead of macro and just focusing on the story, that might be fun. And it's the Wachowskis have had a huge history since the Matrix on their evolution as individuals. And so some of that, I mean, that can translate in the Matrix perfectly. So there's some fun stuff that could be had with this new one.
Well, me and Taylor feel like
You've convinced me, John. I'll watch it.
And just so everyone knows, I don't know if you guys can hear the thunder and like stuff being picked up, but it's currently a thunderstorm out here in California, and it feels like I'm in the Matrix.
Sentinels, you better get that EMP ready. The Sentinels are on the way. Yeah. So Taylor, we were talking just a little bit before we started. So you haven't seen this very often, and you haven't seen the first Matrix in a long time, right?
Yeah, it's been 10 years, and I think I may have, I hate to admit it, have fallen asleep when I first saw it. So it was kind of like a first viewing in a way.
No. It makes sense because like the first half of the movie's all talking. And then the second half is nothing but action scenes.
Yeah.
So the first time you saw it, I know it was 10 years ago, maybe you don't remember. Did you fall asleep because it just was not interesting to you? Or was it just happened to be the situation you were at the time? Or?
Yeah, I think it was circumstantial. But, you know, that is something that I noticed watching it again is the, you know, screenwriting thing of showing, not telling. I'm like, wow, they really do show and they do not tell in the beginning. I'm like, you know, you're right there with Neo wondering what's going on. And I kind of like that you're learning as he's learning about everything happening around him.
They really explain a lot in the movie. They're like AI, artificial intelligence. Oh, yeah. It's like, wait, we know
just in
this.
Case you didn't know.
Like, we know this. And
well, you know it now, but back then maybe people didn't know.
I just
the normal moviegoer.
But this time, just like watching, like they explain everything like super heavy in this movie. Like they are still in the Matrix. Like after
things
they
like that. But in the beginning, when you know somebody's trying to talk to him in the computer, you know, in the very first 30 minutes, you have at least I didn't have any idea what was happening.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I just noticed this time around they're like really like just letting you know what's going on.
Yeah, the members of the
everything like even the Agent Smith, like there's times where he's like, you know, they're still here, you know, the way he talks they haven't left the Matrix.
Yeah, there is a lot of making sure you understand what's going on, which some of the explanations, like I love the first time Morpheus sits down Neo and he's explaining everything to him, because like you said, Taylor, you're learning along with him. And when you watch it again, you're like, boy, they could have told him so much sooner. They could have just flat out told him. Yeah. They tell him in very weird, kind of mysterious ways, but for the first time viewing it, it blows your mind, but maybe it doesn't hold up as well in subsequent viewings, though I've continued to enjoy this. But you're right that Nick, no, I did notice like, well, they're explaining a lot of side stuff, even the villains.
Very,
I guess
like,
villains are
sales
famous
heavy
for doing
too,
that.
I feel like they're all wearing really nice clothes and stuff. Like, hey, we're selling it to you. Like, yo, you got to wake up. Like, it's gonna be cool. There's like this cool building, these really cool red chairs. Like everything's cool. And he wakes up. He's like, what the? This is like the whole sales pitch on him. Like they totally lied to him. Like it was like a false reality.
Oatmeal gruel.
Oatmeal gruel.
And our leader Morpheus with like the red, he had like a red sweater on that was like a little tattered. I'm like, I've never really noticed his sweater he wears all the time.
That's right. You know what? Neo gets credit, you know, Keanu Reeves for the Matrix, but I guess Morpheus and Lawrence Fishburne always did. But man, that's the one thing about the new movie that I just cannot get over is there's no Morpheus there. And so suppose this is a side story. This is about the first Matrix, but a small thing is after the movies were all done, they had an MMO, a massively multiplayer online game based on the Matrix. I never played it, but in that Morpheus dies. And supposedly from the fans and stuff, and supposedly what the Wachowskis maybe said is that's why Morpheus is not in the new movies, because he's dead. He died after the movies. And it's like, but you need Lawrence Fishburne. It's such an important part of this.
Yeah.
If it's a loop, so we saw Keanu and we also saw Trinity in the trailer. Trinity dies and Keanu dies in the third movie. So therefore, even if Morpheus dies, this is like a whole reboot of the Matrix. He should be there somewhere.
It's another cycle.
So he might be there in the world, and maybe that's like the end of the movie, which kind of ties. It's gonna. Oh no, we're gonna get a Star Wars thing. It's gonna be like Mark Hamill.
So this is what I'm telling you. That's why I'm not into this kind of thing.
No,
but
it's gonna be so bad. He's gonna like deliver him his glasses, and he's gonna throw the glasses off off the mountain or whatever.
And he'll be like floating.
I mean, the long and short of it is, did we need another Matrix movie? Definitely no. But depending on how they take it, it might be good. But we're talking about the first Matrix.
Yes,
movie,
and,
right?
and the awesome theory of the first Matrix is Morpheus is the bad guy. This is a perfect tie-in to talking about Morpheus being the bad guy, right? So Morpheus's name is in Greek. It means dreams, right?
The god of dreams.
Yes, it's the god of dreams, right? And his ship is the Nebuchadnezzar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nebuchadnezzar, yes.
Nebuchadnezzar is the king in the Bible
Mm-hmm.
who took over and captured the city of Zion, right? So therefore, Morpheus is there to keep everyone in a dream state. So there's two layers of the Matrix, right? You have the main Matrix, and then you have a section of the Matrix for people who want to escape, but they're just escaping to another version of the Matrix.
Yeah.
It's like super heavy, deep Matrix stuff, and it's pouring rain outside, and it's crazy.
I can
rain.
totally hear it. It sounds cool.
Are you able to hear the rain?
I wish this would have been for our Blade Runner review.
Tears. In rain.
I know the rain would have been
That would have
Blade Runner.
tears in the rain.
VFX speaking, it doesn't look like it would today, but I think it holds up in the sense, I don't know if we want to dive into this, but I think it holds up in the sense that it has that millennium turn of this, like beginning of the century, like look to it of, 2000s. And I feel like it works because it's very iconic for that time period. And I mean, at the very end, I did kind of giggle at that last scene, where he
Flies away.
You all saw it.
Spoilers, he
that
flies
one
away.
maybe doesn't hold up as much, but the rest of it I think really worked.
Well, there's also a theory for that too.
Okay.
So the theory is the reason why the effects look bad now, and also in the sequels and stuff, is because the Matrix can't handle the rendering of
see.
the action that they're doing, right? Because it's like breaking the laws of physics, and like when he stops things and when he's dodging and all that, it's like the Matrix trying to keep up with frame rates and rendering.
Okay.
So that's why it looks.
That sounds very Reddit.
That's so dumb, but whatever.
John,
think it holds
you
up,
have to
though.
accept it.
Do you think it holds up?
There's a couple of shots that don't hold up, but for the most part, it holds up.
It's fun.
So one of the cool things about the first movie is it was mostly practical effects for the bullet time, at least. So when they're moving around guys in space, like Trinity when she jumps up and does that famous shot at the beginning, when Morpheus is running towards that window to jump to the helicopter, they have hundreds of cameras in a sweeping camera move that you would do with the real camera, but that was their solution. They wanted to have these crazy camera moves, and they had went to Industrial Light and Magic and all these visual effects companies to say, hey, how do we do this? And the solutions, a lot of them said, well, you need to basically attach a camera to a rocket, and the camera would fall apart, the motion blur would be crazy. So their solution was, instead of having a camera moving super fast, we have a bunch of cameras already charting out the movement for us. And so when you have those loop arounds, they can't really change things after the fact. What they shoot is what they shoot, but it looks real because it is real. Whereas once you get into the second movie and third movie, that's when you started getting into digital doubles and trying to really recreate them artificially. And so they don't look as good as the real footage. But if you go back to that time period, early 2000s, that still holds up as the best CG digital doubles of the time period for massively amounts of shots. But if you get into like one-off shots and say Lord of the Rings or things like that, those look fine because they just use them very, sporadically or never getting that close. So
Guys, we're going to dive into a podcast where we're going to go deep into Matrix, the rabbit hole. I guess we're going deep down the rabbit hole. We're going to talk about I thought was a funny point to the story. In the podcast, I want to talk about how love actually saves the day, it wasn't like a computer code and stuff, which I thought was very interesting for the story, and how originally the humans weren't going to be batteries. They had another plan for it, but then the higher ups made them. We're going to go into fun stuff on the podcast. So go to Spotify or Apple, whatever you listen to your podcast on, and come visit us on AsArt.